And you're live.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining in today. My name is Jeannetta Walker-Rodgers. I am Joico's Global Technical Director, and I am here to share with you some big news about our new shades. Also, talking about a highlighting technique that I did on my curly hair model here. Jessica, I'm going to introduce you in a second, tell you about what we did, okay? Super exciting. So, wave to the camera, say hi, Jessica. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the process before we get to the toning. I'm ready to roll. Just so you know, my model had literally no highlights back here. She had some face framing from a previous content day that we had. So we did highlight her today with a Joico Blonde Life cream lightener that comes in a tube. This is my go-to for curly hair, just so you know. It lifts 9+ levels. It does have an oil base with the Tamanu and Manoi oil. It is amazing, and I use anywhere between 15 and 20 volumes. So I mixed a combination of the Blonde Life Coconut Developer and 20 and 5, and then once I got toward the front, it was all 20, okay? So with that being said, I just want to talk a little bit about the technique and how I was able to blonde her. And I want to talk about underlying pigment with these new toners. So her whole back section is a bricklay effect, using triangles all the way up the back of the head. There was obviously a ton of depth left. She wanted to have a lot of movement in her hair, a lot of depth, an easy grow out. So we did a ton of teasing. And I think one of the biggest questions that I get when people see me teasing curly hair is, how are you going to get that out? Well, it's very easy to get it out. All you need to do is basically brush. I use a Denman brush, a wide paddle brush. I go underneath the tease, and I pull out the tease in the direction that I put it. So Jessica can tell you what, it took us no time to detangle her hair. When I am teasing on curly hair, I'm very purposeful and intentional with my tease. I'm not going in and cranking it. I'm putting my comb in and pushing it, so that makes it easier to come out. So I want to talk about toning today. And we have these beautiful new shades in LumiShine Demi-Permanent Gloss. And they are the NB series. So we have a 6 NB. Let me just show you the 6 NB. We have the 7 NB. And we have the 9 NB. And I want to talk about them just a little bit. Where they live on the color wheel is an amazing place. There is violet in there, and there's also beige. So it's a brown beige violet, if you could imagine that on our color wheel. And I'm actually going to share the color wheel in our after content that create, because I think it's important that you know what your color is made of before you go in and start toning it. So I was very purposeful with the way I lifted her, because we are creating honey curls, honey blonde curls, right? And whenever you hear the term honey blonde, I hear balanced beige. That is what this is. That is what the NB series is. A very beautiful, balanced beige. And with that being said, you can control how warm that balanced beige is by your underlying or contributing pigment. So for all intents and purposes of this class, I did not lift her to a level 10 inside of the banana yellow. I lifted her to a solid level 9. There is yellow still in her hair. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to adjust the warmth. The NB series, because of the violet, can be a little on the cooler beige side, but we know your end result is a result of the underlying pigment. It's the result of what you put on it. And so I am contributing to the warmth of my end results, okay, by leaving some melanin in her hair. Okay? So with that being said, let's get into it. So I am going to be using our new NB series, the Root Smudge. Look at that. Well, let's see. I'm going to actually put the camera on it a little bit. Let's put this down. There we go. A little bit. Look at that. All right. So with that being said, this is the 6NB. It's 25 grams of 6NB and 5 grams of 6N for her root smudge. And then for her ends, I'm using a combination of the 9NB, so 25 grams of 9NB, 5 grams of 7NB, just for a little bit of control. I want reflection, but I also want depth. And I mix that then with our LumiShine 5 volume developer, coconut cream developer. I'm sorry, no, that's one life. The regular LumiShine developer is just 5 volume. It is a creamy base, and it is going to allow for the most beautiful deposit. So let's get into it. Now, the purpose of leaving all of this depth in her hair is so that she could have, you know, a great amount of movement. However, I don't want to take away fully from the brightness. So I'm going in with my level 6, okay? And I'm going to part out with a zigzag here around her face. I want this hair to be the lightest and brightest around her face. And so with this section ends right behind the ear here, okay? I am gonna go in with a root tap, and I'm gonna tap first. I'm gonna tap first because I want the ultimate amount of deposit in that root area to contribute to the depth that I left her, okay? So I'm taking it in, I'm taking my brush. Can you tilt down? Yeah, tilt. Yeah, yes, that's perfect. Thank you. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to start it right at the top of the section of hair. As you can see, I'm building depth going backwards. So it's a more shallow tap here. And as I go backwards, I'm bringing it down a little bit more. I'm going to take a blending tool. You can use a comb. You can use, I love using, this is a really multi-purpose brush. I really love using it. I'm going to take it and I'm just going to brush it through, okay? I'm actually going to let this other side down so that when I go in and I flip it over, I don't have any issues with transfer. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to lightly take this over. I'm going to start the tap right at the beginning, and I'm going to work my way away from the face, down further here, just tapping it right up here. Okay, taking my brush, bringing it down. Okay. All right, you can hold your head up just a little bit. Yep, there we go. So I'm taking it, I'm tapping it, I'm bringing it down. You can even, sometimes I take I call it the teeth of my brush, and I just, depending on the texture of the hair, if you can get through it, I just kind of go in and drag it down as well. Take my brush. We want a beautiful transition between her natural level 3 and her level 9 highlights. The thing about creating a lot of depth when you also are creating a lot of light is that sometimes that contrast can be like, wow, you know, almost to the point where it doesn't look like it's being blended. And so we always want to make sure we have a blended look when we are transitioning from a very, very natural dark base to a very light highlight. I think that that's super, super important. Okay. So I'm tapping at the beginning where I see her highlight starting, and I'm dragging it down, tap, 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 and then dragging it toward the back. I hear a lot of people say that, you know, you can't really create a focal front or a money piece on curly hair. I have a tendency to disagree because I think that if you can be strategic in the way you place your highlights and the way you go on with your toner, you can definitely create focal points on curly hair. I think it's super important. You can already see here, and I'm gonna bring this camera closer. You can see how this is already blending. Let me move this that way, yes. How it's already blending from her natural dark base into this very beautiful light highlight. There's a transition there. There always needs to be a buffer when you're working with really light highs and dark lows. So I think that that's super important to know. So we're gonna turn her around and we're gonna do more on this side. Let me see if I can bring this up and bring you guys into it. There we go. So now I'm working on the other side. I'm gonna have you tilt down just a little bit. Perfect. And I mean, listen, you clearly can see, let me lift this up a little bit so you guys can get on top of it. You guys can see, I mean, she's blended pretty good already just from the teasing work, right? However, I want a transitional color here. So that 6NB and that 6N is gonna provide such beautiful balance to the tone that we are using to transition that dark to light. So again, I'm gonna go in, right? I am going to make sure that I've zigzagged out my face frontal point. Okay, we're gonna take that out. We then are gonna have control of our canvas, and we're gonna go in same way, tap at the beginning of the highlights, and then we're gonna use the edge of our brush. We can use the teeth of our brush just to drag that down in the back. Okay? Just to create that beautiful transition color. I'm gonna take my brush here, just gonna brush through it. Okay, I'm gonna take diagonal back partings, and I'm gonna come in, tilt this way for me a little bit toward the camera. Yep, perfect. I'm gonna go in and tap, 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 and then take the edge of my brush, dig my teeth in toward the back, and just create a beautiful area of transition with the 6NB with a little touch of 6N. So one of the things I love about going in and really digging my teeth in is that this is actually helping us separate curls. We know curls love to live together. They love to live together in what I call curl groupings. And with that being said, sometimes we think we would have penetrated all of the hair, but we really didn't. And so when you go to finish out the hair, you can see, you know, that there are areas that sometimes haven't even been toned at all. So I'm using my tools to make sure that the LumiShine Demi-Permanent Gloss has fully penetrated that hair shaft, making sure that I'm covering every hair that I actually want to cover, okay? Because with curly hair, sometimes like you can lay a gloss on top and it literally will just sit on top. That is literally where it will sit. So using your tools to just kind of work it in, make sure you have that beautiful transition color everywhere where it needs to be. It's gonna be awesome. Okay. Tilt that up just a little bit. So again, starting right here, building your way up and bringing some of it down, digging my teeth in. I think with this too, and using your tools in this manner, you get to really fully customize your toning technique. I think toning is just as important, and the technique is just as important as the actual bleaching itself. I mean, obviously, you have to bleach the hair to get it lighter, but when you're going in and you're actually refining tone, having making sure that your technique is down pat, making sure that you are providing that customization to your client is super amazing. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going through these first two sections, okay? And I'm going through these first two sections. I'm leaving the front out to the last. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna do the back, and I'm leaving the front two pieces out to the very, very last. Why? Because I really want it to be a focal point. So my model Jessica, she decided today when we were talking, when we first met, Jessica had much shorter hair, okay, that I worked on. And she came in with a new head of hair. I was like, girl, your hair has grown so much since the last time I saw you. So when we first met, she had a fringe. And this technique would have been completely different if she would have decided to keep her fringe. But she decided on, she wants kind of like a middle, it's like I call it a schmiddle part, because it's not quite in the middle, but it's also not quite on the side. It actually looks really, really great for her face framing. And because of that, I am so serious about making sure that, we keep it as accentuated as we possibly can. Okay. I'm just combing it through or brushing it through. And as you can see, again, on this side, we're starting to build that beautiful transition of color.
Hey, Jeannetta, we have a question from Lauren on Facebook.
Okay, hi, Lauren on Facebook.
She's asking, how long do you process the hairline toner?
Usually no more than 15 minutes. It depends on the overall tonal family, okay? We know that hair is usually darker through here, so this could sit on a little bit longer. But right around the face is usually where people have natural highlights. I myself actually will get blonde streaks in the front, even if my hair is not colored, just from the sun. And so with that being said, when she pulls her hair back, it's gonna be lighter. When she wears her hair down, it's gonna be lighter. And so I literally wait until I have 10 or 15 minutes left, and I just go in and I just tap it real quick. And then I'll put on the end color if that's necessary, because it's not always necessary to put on an end color if you're doing something else, But I usually leave it on no more than 10, 15 minutes. Now, what I will say is with LumiShine, you can process LumiShine up to 35 minutes, okay? With the LumiShine Demi-Permanent Gloss, you can process it up to 35 minutes. A minimum, I think it should be a minimum of 5 minutes. And at that point, you're messing with your longevity. I'm formulating in a way that I'm confident with. I'm formulating on level. And I'm making sure that even if it looks like it's getting dark, like I'm not getting heart palpitations. So duly note, minimum of 5 minutes. I think 10 to 15 minutes will be best, but up to 35 minutes.
Awesome, thank you. And then we have another question from Daniela.
Hi, Daniela.
And she's trying to clarify, is it the 06 NB and 06 N on the base?
Yes, so on the base, it's 25 grams of the 6NB, which is the new shade, and it's 5 grams of the 6.0, 6N. So just a little touch of 6N, but definitely a level 6 at the root with the 6NB and the 6N. Okay. So now I know on the sides, you guys saw me start at the top, okay? With such a large section of hair, I'm starting at the bottom. I always like to do my techniques with control. I want to have control over my canvas. And with this large and full of a section of hair, me starting at the top, well, first of all, because she's blonde on her ends, if I flip this over like I did the other two sections, we're going to be getting level 6 on our ends. We don't want to do that, okay? So I want this hair to fall straight down. So with that being said, I'm holding this hair with one hand. I know that that's not possible sometimes with every type, every curl type. However, it is possible with Jessica's. So I thought that that was super cool. So you're gonna take your clip because she has way more depth, and the back tilt down for me, okay? Some of her highlights are going to start higher. Some of them are going to start lower. In the very back, I wanted the darkness to hug her neck, but I also wanted the lightness to be bright and create a frame around her neck. So that's what I mean about customization too. This dark is going to hug her neck, but it's almost going to make her hair look fuller or longer and extend the hair out by having the lighter tips. That's always something to consider when you are putting in your highlights. So I'm going in and I'm making sure that in this scenario, again, it's almost like a V because I want it to be light. I want the lightness to be higher on the outside. So I'm painting on my toner in this manner. I'm going deeper in the middle and then kind of just tapping it and bringing it down on the outside. Okay. And then I'm going to brush that in. So you can see she's definitely wetter in here and less wet on the outside. Is going to leave those lighter pieces that, because I also highlighted that way as well. It left those lighter pieces lighter for longer on the outside and then creating depth on the inside. So being very purposeful with where I'm placing everything, okay? So I'm gonna go back in. Back here, I'm taking about 1/2 inch partings, okay? I'm gonna clip this hair up. If you have an assistant, this is a great technique to do with an assistant. They can hold the hair out the way for you, but it's just me and Jessica today. So you're gonna see me parting off and sectioning off, okay? So you can see her highlights are literally higher right here, and they drop in the middle and they go higher on the other side. Because this is just a transition color, you all, I'm not trying to like cover it up. I'm just trying to create a nice transitional line. Okay, going deeper in the middle, higher on the outskirts. Thank you. Making sure I'm really tapping that root on either side. You want to tap, tap, tap it. Don't go down too far. Keep your depth for the middle. Okay. Okay. Now in a salon scenario, there are certain times of the service where I tell my clients, like, listen, I'm going to be extremely quiet because, I'm just going to be honest and say, I am not one of those people who can talk and chew gum. It slows me down. Okay. And toning is actually one of those moments. So as I get to the wide, I'm pretty much at the widest section of the head. Okay. This is where I am actually going to take this section in half, okay? Again, I want control of my canvas, okay? Now, I'm tapping here, going down on the angle, getting this little tap, bringing that down, and we're putting that depth right there in the middle and just tapping it at the top there. I'm going to do the opposite, okay, on the other side. So inevitably still creating that V shape that we want. So I'm tapping. You can see, you can literally see where that highlight is. Get in there and just kind of give it a little tap, tap, tap. Use the teeth and bring it down, brush it all down together. On camera, what you're seeing, this depth, once she shrinks up and her curls form, that dark is going to make her lightness on her ends pop. That is just gonna pop so much more. It's just an amazing way to use your light and your dark. Again, I'm at another wide section of the head. Okay, and I forgot to say too, her hair is damp. It is just slightly damp. I think that's another thing that we should talk about here when we're using LumiShine. You obviously can use them on damp hair, but it is recommended, okay? It is recommended that you towel dry the hair really, really well. I'm a person who likes to use water as a tool, okay? I know if I leave more water in the hair, okay, while I'm toning, I'm inevitably diluting my shade, okay, that I'm applying. But if I towel dry the hair and towel dry really well, or even put my toner on dry hair, like if I wanted to fully dry her out and then tone her hair, that is creating more depth and color deposit on my toner, okay? I think a lot of times we're rushing around in the salon and we're like, let's be purposeful with how much water we're using, right? How much water is left in the hair. Let's be purposeful with that. Let's use water as a tool. It's also great for blending. And so with that being said, I know a lot of people use liquid demis, including LumiShine, on damp hair. But if you want more color deposition, more saturation, if you want just more longevity, do it on drier hair. It doesn't have to be 100% dry, but definitely try to do it on drier hair. Okay? All right, so now we're coming up. You notice when I lift this top, you see all that depth in there, right? And now, as I'm starting to transition up to the top of the head, we are now seeing higher highlights. It's starting to get higher. Again, on purpose, right? Number one, hair is usually the darkest in this section right here. However, that I call it a cushion when I'm utilizing my depth in that way. It's providing such a contrast against the hair that's laying on top of it. It's going to make that lighter shade pop that much more. Okay.
Hey, Jeannetta. Oh, sorry. We have a question from Araceli on Facebook.
Hi.
She's asking, are you combing the toner through? I would think it would darken the hair.
So technically, if you take a look at my brush, you actually see barely any color exchange on the brush. You see some stray hairs from combing through her hair. The answer is actually no. What I'm doing is I'm blending it. I'm using such a small amount that by the time the brush goes through it, it can only go so far. Okay? So inevitably, no, I'm putting it where I need to be. But now if I went in with a ton of color on my brush, okay, if I went in with a ton of it, and I did that, you would see more color on my brush, and you would start to get that 6, that level 6 on the ends, which is what you don't want. So that is a great question. I'm so glad you asked it. The amount that I'm using on my canvas is literally just enough, okay? And I'm starting off here, going in there, dropping it down in the middle a little bit, but I'm literally just lightly tapping that product on, but I am using the teeth of my brush to kind of drag it through. And then I follow that up with my big brush, right? So yeah, the intention is for this to drag it down to create like that transition. Yes, absolutely. But there's no color down here. You can literally see where the color stops. Okay, great question. Thank you so much for asking that. So I'm gonna finish up this section here. And again, you can see that not only am I toning her in the same manner in which I highlighted her, like now you can start to physically see, let me get this pinned up here, such a small section. You literally can physically see that I went higher on the sides and left depth in the middle. So inevitably, I'm going in and I'm just blurring out this line here with that level 6, okay? So I'm going up high, taking this down low, right here in the middle. You want to make sure that you're tapping all of the top edge of your highlights. That's your transition.
We've got another question on Facebook, and they're asking, what brush are you using?
Okay, so I am using Joico's Blonde Life brush. It is, let me wipe it off so you guys can see it. It's the Joico brand Blonde Life brush. I do not know how to get a hold of these, but it reminds me of the bristles of a Framar brush on the tips. It makes it really, really easy to feather. So I would say if you can't get a hold of this particular brush, get you a wide Framar brush. It is probably the closest thing that I know to this brush. Okay. All right. Like you literally can see where the toner stops, where that transition stops. So there's nothing on the ends. Let's do this last section, and then the rest of it is easy. The rest of it is me taking, okay, my product in my bottle and taking small sections of hair and making sure that it's fully saturated. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to take my bottle. This has already been pre-measured. I just didn't mix it up yet, so I'm going to go ahead and mix it up. This is 25 grams of 9 NB and 5 grams of 7 NB. Okay. I'm going to go back to where I started. Okay. Remember, this is last. Okay. I'm going to gather up all the hair in this section. Her hair is pretty fine. And if you want to, you can separate it a little bit, but I just want you to go in and this is my favorite part. It's my favorite part simply because I get to mush stuff together like a little kid. Okay? So I am working it up into that 6N. I'm gonna bring it down, work it, use your fingers as a tool, go in and work it in. I'm gonna take my brush and just work it through, okay? Same up here. I'm starting kind of like down, and then I'm gonna go up into here, kind of following the same roadmap as I led with my other toner, my base toner, because now I'm going in and I'm just working this in. And I'm using my fingers to smush the two shades together. Okay? That's the easy part. I think that basing your toner is always going to be the most complicated. Well, not complicated. Maybe I don't want to use that word. I don't think it's complicated. I think you have to have great strategy. That's what I think. Okay? I'm just going to clip this to the side here. Grab all this hair. And you can see, right, where it's wet, I am taking my bottle. I'm going just probably about an inch down from that. And then I'm going to go up toward the face. And I'm just going to go in and work it.
Hey, Jeannetta, we have a question from Yenny on Facebook. She's asking, can you please restate your 2 toner formulas?
Yes, I absolutely can. So the base formula is 25 grams of 6NB and 5 grams of 6N with mixing ratio 1:1 with LumiShine 5 volume developer. Okay. And then the ends is 25 grams of 9NB and 5 grams of 7NB, mixing ratio 1:1, okay, with the LumiShine 5 volume developer. Wait, did I say that right? 25 grams of 9NB, 5 grams of 7NB, mixing ratio 1:1 with LumiShine 5 volume developer. I totally lost my train of thought in that moment. Wow. Did she get it down?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So I think that I am definitely running a little over, but I just have a couple more things I want to show you before we go. Okay? So, watch me smush this in and have fun with that because it's like my favorite thing to do. And another thing that I kind of want to talk to you about is trusting your toner. So earlier in the class, I talked about where the NB series lives on the color wheel, which is an amazing place to be. It has beige, it has violet, which means it leans on the cooler side of beige. I just want to reiterate that when something lives on the cooler side of beige and you want to create something a little warmer, you have to utilize your natural underlying pigment, okay? And with that being said, I wanted something, of course, honey blonde. So instead of lightening her to the inside of the banana yellow, which is normally considered a level 10, I utilized just lifting her to a level 9 because I knew that that would still have some yellow in there, right? So with that being said, I'm gonna turn her around here because I actually want you all to see some processing. Now, this has been sitting on here for a minute, and this is called trusting the process. Do you see how after about 5 minutes, this beautiful shade, I'm gonna move this in because that is a really beautiful shade of honey blonde. And I utilized her underlying pigment, knowing that, there's some violet in there. We're gonna take care of the violet, okay? We're gonna take care of that. However, I didn't necessarily want it to be an extra cool beige. I wanted it to be a warmer beige. So I left some underlying pigment in there, and she is processing beautifully to that beautiful honey blonde shade that I want her to be. Okay? So, do we have any more questions? Because I'm gonna do more of this to the back, just what I did to the front, and literally taking the formula that's in the bottle and putting it up here. No tap. No tap. I want it to be very striking. Okay? Do we have any more questions?
I think we're all set on questions. Thanks, Jeannetta.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna finish her up. And there were some before pictures that happened. There's gonna be an after photo shoot. So if you wanna see the after, BTC will also have the afters, but I'm also gonna have them on my Instagram page, which is at Watch My Hair Bounce on Instagram. So we about to have a whole photo shoot after I finish her hair. It's gonna be amazing, right? Look, turn around. Like, hold on, Jessica about to pose it up. So it's gonna be fabulous, and I cannot wait for you guys to see the finished look. Thank you so much. Have a good day.